You guys had again, a pretty competitive first half. You came right with them defensively. What did you see at the beginning of the third quarter where they finally got space at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the way we played in the first half. I mean, we did a lot of really good things. Talked about it at halftime about, getting off to a good start, the fact that they were going to start with the ball. First two possessions are fouls, put them to the free throw line, I think Zach got a pretty good look at maybe the possession in between from the three-point line in the corner in front of our bench. He just happened to miss it. And then from there, defensively, it snowballed for us. You know what I mean? Then it got quickly went from there. It was like they took the lead on those two free throws. And then after that, we defensively just didn't do enough and didn't score enough. But that was it. Because once that happened, after the first 6 minutes, it was a double-digit game, and then we were just fighting. It was an uphill climb from there.
Go ahead. Billy, there's so much made in the preseason about shot profile and the offseason. Shot profile had to change, more three-pointers, kind of catch up with the rest of the league. It's kind of like you guys are in a damned if you do, damned if you don't right now, where the three-pointers aren't falling.
Right.
So you can't just chuck a bunch of them up there.
That's right.
Especially when you feel like that first half where you could be efficient in other ways. I mean, how do you fix this offense instead? Guys just keep saying, well, shots are going to fall.
Right.
There's no guarantee of that.
No, but I think that if you look at a guy like Kobe, his profile just over his career, he's been a pretty consistent shooter. He hasn't shot the ball particularly well. I think, Zach, you can say the same thing for. My biggest thing is on the threes. Listen, I'm all for taking threes, but I also think they got to be the right ones at the right time by the right guys, right?
In the right ones.
I think for the most part we've done a pretty good job. We've taken now, have all of them in grade, Joe? Probably not, but for the most part we've done a pretty good job. We haven't shot the ball particularly well. I think it does get a little demoralizing sometimes, deflating when teams are hopping up and just knocking shots down, and we're getting relatively good ones and they don't go in. We're trying to attack the paint and get downhill. I mean, some of the shot profile stuff that you're talking about is exactly right, but you can't just force that just all of a sudden. We're going to take 45 threes a game, and then that's not been DeMar DeRozan's game his whole entire career, and it's been Vooch's game his whole entire career. Those guys have always been kind of in around the lane, and Vooch plays in the pocket, plays in the mid-post area. He'll shoot some threes, make some 15-footers on some pick and pops. That's how he's played. So you got to incorporate that. But the biggest thing to me is, can we get downhill and attack the paint to generate maybe some more threes, to generate some more fouls, to generate some more offensive rebounds and that kind of stuff. But I do think that the way we've shot the ball, I think if you look at Kobe or Zach at their career numbers based on what their numbers say right now, I think you got to have confidence that will get better. And again, is every shot ideal? No, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of generating some pretty good ones.
But I want to follow up on that actually a little bit. Because your offense, it's not a high-volume offensive team, but your offense has been, in the last couple of years, all for DeMar and Zach. And both of them seem to have really, Zach obviously had the 50-point game. But other than that, they seem to have, not creating the space they normally do, not seeming to get the looks they normally do. What are you seeing in those two?
In terms of, what do you mean?
They're playing and how effective they've been playing. I know that neither is shooting well, but your offense relies so much on, one or the other really breaking out.
Yeah, I mean, DeMar in the Toronto game had 33 points. Zach had 51. I think the game, I don't know what game it was, they all had over 20. I mean, I like the shots Zach got. He got downhill. He missed some threes tonight. DeMar, I got DeMar into the mid-post area a lot today, when he played around there. Vooch, those guys are all taking 17, 15, I think they're getting, pretty good looks, no different than maybe what they had before. I do think if it gets to a place where it's like, hey, let's figure out who's got the hot hand tonight, and I'm all for that, when the guys got it going, but if it goes to just around to those three guys, it's really, really hard for us to compete and win.
But it seems to me that they're taking a lot of tough shots, and that you've always talked to them early.
Yeah.
Let's get the ball moving.
Yeah, we have to do that.
Right, but they there still seems like they're taking a lot of tough shots, trying to, sort of shoot themselves out of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know. I mean, I do think there's been some shots, where maybe Zach's gotten up against the clock. There's been tough shots. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but Vooch is not a tough shot taker.
Those the other two.
DeMar's always played when you play in the mid-range like DeMar does, they're all tough shots. It's not like he's getting wide open shots. I actually thought he got really good looks tonight, DeMar, on a couple catch and shoots, in the mid-post, mid-area. He got to the front of the rim. That's generally where he gets fouled, is when he plays in there. He plays off of that. So, I mean, listen, I've seen DeMar, where he's been crazy in the fourth quarter with guys hanging all over him making shots. So I don't think that he's necessarily gotten that different of shots, in my opinion. And you probably need to ask them, how they feel about it. But, we're going to have to me, the biggest thing with those three guys is their spacing for the other guys, because I think as great as they are offensively, we're going to need to spread it out a little bit more to take another step, and to what Joe said, it does require Patrick and Kobe and Javon and different guys stepping up and shooting the ball better and making plays.
And Billy, we talked about this at the beginning of the season, the schedule, those first 14 to 20 games. And I know it's easy to say, it's only 7 games. But there's a scenario in place where you guys only have half a season with this group. You know what I mean? I mean, that organizations have to make decisions. As a coach, do you feel the urgency of this? That look, this can't unravel much more. I mean, we've got to write this thing and write it quickly. And how do you do that? How do you get these guys to kind of figure out this offense? And it just seems like they just kind of say the same things that we're working through. We're trying to figure. They don't have a lot of time to do that. Potentially.
Yeah, like I said before, Joe, it's not like we're doing anything like different out. Yeah.
But when they present it to us, like last week in Detroit, it was, we're trying to get this thing to work. We're trying to make it work. They talk about like a newness to it. So it's in their heads. Mm-hmm. They're telling us that it's somehow in their heads that this is new, and if they don't see the results, it's almost like they're bumping their heads against the wall trying to say, well, we're trying to make it work. It's not working, and they're frustrated. I mean, how do you make sure that, this doesn't...
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me when you've got elite scorers that, maybe... I mean, no, I don't think any of them shot over 50% tonight per se, right? So, like, I feel good when Zach shoots the ball, when Vooch shoots the ball, or when, DeMar shoots the ball. I do. To me, I would be concerned if those guys weren't getting the quality of the number of shots. Like, I think if we were coming in here and saying, like, DeMar's played in a bunch of different systems. I think Zach's played. They've scored wherever they've been. The same thing with Vooch. So I don't, I think if it was like, hey, we're taking DeMar and we're making him a point guard now, and now instead of taking 18 to 20 shots, he's taking 12 shots because he's trying to distribute. And I've never done this before. I actually did some of that at San Antonio. But I don't know. I feel like they're aggressive. They're trying to get downhill. They're trying to play. They're trying to move the ball. We have to do that, because I think what happens is if you're just going to say, okay, here's a package of plays for DeMar, here's a package of plays for Vooch and Zach, and everybody's just standing around watching them play, I don't know where that's going to take us. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I think you've got to try to, let's look at, okay, what were our challenges last year? I think spacing was an issue. We didn't take a lot of threes. We didn't get to the free throw line. We did an offensive rebound. Well, when you look at why we didn't do that, some of it has to do with we take a lot of non-rim twos. And that's probably the least offensive rebounded shot. So I don't, again, I think we're running stuff where, Zach's been in high pick and roll his whole career. He was in a ton of high pick and roll today. Yeah. There's no different. DeMar, he plays at the elbows and the boxes, and he's also great in pick and roll. He was in a ton of those situations. Vooch, we kind of had his facilitator. He caught the ball in the post. He distributed. We got him in the pocket. He made some shots. I don't necessarily see it that way, but obviously you have to go off of what what they're saying. That's kind of how I see it.
Let me ask you about, in the first half, I don't know if it was, closing out as well, but, you held them off on threes early on, and you kind of matched them, shot them. What did you see in the second half? They kind of got going from 3-point.
Well, I think that we fouled, for one, to start it off, and then I thought we had we had 8 turnovers in the first half. We only had 3, but we had a couple there early in the third quarter that I think led to some runouts for them. I think they scored maybe 18 points off our 11 turnovers or something. I think it led to some kind of number like that. I don't know for sure. But, I think a lot of it was our missed shots, them in transition, and us trying to get matched up.
Why do you think the defense, like you say, when they spaced it out in the third quarter, you saw the defense dropped off? It didn't recover. Why do you think it didn't recover as well as you'd like to have seen it, like it was in the first half?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They missed some. They did miss some shots in the first half. I think we did a pretty good job defensively. I don't know necessarily why. Why they shot the ball. Obviously much better and played probably in their minds a lot better in the second half. Denver. I think we contributed to that. I think our defense, getting back. I thought there was rebounds and stuff that we didn't come down. There was loose balls we didn't come down with. All those kind of things. I think were challenges and issues.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yep. Thank you.